spiritual aspect of this Independence Day also. So when we are talking about getting to know the spiritual aspect, यानी कि आजादी का हमारा आध्यात्मिक महत्व, you know, we are celebrating आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव भारतवर्ष में, संपूर्ण भारतवर्ष में मनाया जा रहा है, जैसा कि क्योंकि ये हमारी 75वीं वर्षगांठ है और हम उसके दौरान कई सारे कार्यक्रमों को संपूर्ण भारतवर्ष में आयोजित किया जा रहा है। इस दौरान आजादी के नए मायने को हर तरह से हम सीखने के साथ साथ ये आवश्यक है कि हम ये भी सीखें कि आध्यात्म जिसका कि लोहा आज संपूर्ण विश्व भारत से जन्मा आध्यात्म को फॉलो करता है, तो उस भारत देश के आध्यात्म को लेकर जब हम आगे बढ़ेंगे, उसी के लिए आज हम आध्यात्मिक जो इसकी वैल्यू है फ्रीडम डे की, इंडिपेंडेंस डे की, उसके साथ हम शुरुआत करेंगे। मैं चाहती थी कि आज क्योंकि देशभक्ति है तो देशभक्ति के गाने के साथ भी इसकी शुरुआत की जाए, लेकिन क्योंकि समय हम आज ऑलरेडी वी हैव ऑलरेडी क्रॉस 5 minutes of our time, so shall we start with a prayer? Shall we start? I invite Prabhu Mayapur Vasi Dasji, the manager of ISKCON, to start with a prayer as per our tradition.
Okay, so first of all, I wish.
And then we'll be inviting him to give a brief introduction of our wonderful speaker for the day. आज का सेशन बहुत ही अच्छा इंटरैक्टिव सेशन होने वाला है। आप सभी से निवेदन करूंगी, everyone has to keep yourself all set to ask all your queries about the topic with our expert today. So over to you, Prabhu.
Thank you, ma'am. So first of all, I wish you Independence Day, and if you are already Independence Day today, then what the meaning of independence that will be taught by Prabhuji today. Prabhuji will tell us the meaning of independence in a spiritual manner. So we will start with our spiritual prayer, because spirituality is the actual thing which we are getting by our this independence, that we can practice our spirituality freedom. We start our this session with a spiritual prayer which we always ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीतापतिकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे शेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम गौरत्वसे नमः। कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु जगते गोपेश गोपिका कांतराकांतमुस्ते तप्तकांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधेश्वरी विश्वानुसुते देवी नमामि हरिप्रियवंशाकल्पतरुश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि श्रीगोविंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। First of all, I want to introduce His Grace Pancharatna Prabhuji. Some little introduction I want to, although the saints doesn't require the introduction, although the वाणी of the saints, संतों की जो वाणी है वो उनका परिचय होता है, उनका ज्ञान उनका परिचय होता है. Still, I will make a small introduction for Prabhuji. So His Grace Pancharat Prabhuji is the president of our ISKCON Jaipur temple, and he is the regional secretary for our ISKCON Rajasthan. He is taking care of all the projects in Rajasthan. He belongs to, actually he belongs to Krishna only, but if we say that materially he belongs to New Zealand, and in Australia, in Adelaide, he got connected with ISKCON by the influence of Bhagavad Gita teachings. So by the influence of Bhagavad Gita, he got connected with ISKCON. And after influence of Bhagavad Gita, he dedicated his life for preaching the message of Bhagavad Gita. And he was telling his, he will tell his experiences also. And he was telling his experiences that how much he was fond to preach the message of Bhagavad Gita. So we can really get encouragement that whole world is taking the shelter of the message of Bhagavad Gita. So on this Independence Day, we can take this vow that we will also follow the teaching of Bhagavad Gita and also follow, we can preach the message of Bhagavad Gita. So now Pancharatna Prabhuji, from last 30 years, more than 30 years, he just preaching this message in this, putting his all efforts for preaching this message in all society. Even nowadays, he is planning to preach this message in the tribal areas also. Tribal areas of especially Rajasthan and Dungarpur side. So he is just planning to preach this Bhagavad Gita message to tribal areas also. So they can also feel that they are also part of the culture. They are also part of this Vedic Sanskriti. So nowadays they are just got confused. They don't know about culture. So for real, for imparting the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to them, is working there also. So very fortunate that we are hearing his best Pancharatna today. So I hope that everyone is very well habitual for understanding English. So Prabhuji will continue this session in English. So please everyone just hear nicely, attentively. And if anyone is in doubt, so this session will be interactive session. Prabhuji will speak shortly. It will be best that everyone can interact nicely. Every aspect, every question ask. We are, because we got so much freedom, so everyone free to ask. Don't bound yourself with anything. Your freedom, freely you can ask any spiritual inquiry, any doubt, any confusion you have regarding the spirituality, that how spirituality is really the actual essence of all things. So now I will invite to his best Pancharatna by taking granting permission of Anita ma'am and all the listeners. So ma'am, should we invite Prabhuji now? Okay, so I think you are muted. I'm just making you unmute.
You're muted.
Okay, actually, we wanted to start it with a song, playing a spiritual song, a Desh Bhakti song, so that people will get that feeling of nationalism today, since it's our Independence Day, Prabhuji. So with all due regards to you, if you allow.
Yes, sir. A small one or two song we can play.
Sure. Krishna ji? Or we shall be having it afterwards. Krishna ji, are you there?
Go ahead.
Who is permitted? You can go ahead.
So sweet. That's nice, Prabhuji.
जहाँ डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश मेरा। जहाँ सत्य अहिंसा और धर्म का पग पग लगता डेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। ये धरती वो जहाँ ऋषि मुनि जपते प्रभु नाम की माला, जपते प्रभु नाम की माला। जहाँ हर बालक एक मोहन है और राधा हर एक बाला, और राधा हर एक बाला। जहाँ सूरज सबसे पहले आकर डाले अपना फेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, विदेश मेरा।
With this, Prabhuji, it's over to you. The song is all about where everything you see, where every child is a part of Shri Krishna also, and every girl is being seen as Radha. So we have all the saints and priests who have given us this today. This day, so it's being dedicated to this. With this, Prabhuji, I shall be inviting you with a humble request. Thank you, and Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, over to you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Is my audio good? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Saya Mitra Krishna Hari Bhakti Vinod Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi My respects to my spiritual master. So it's an important day today for India, Independence Day, and I suppose it means many different things to different people. What does it actually mean to be independent? Certainly, for us who are more interested in the philosophical side of things, of course, that India has such an amazing culture to offer to the whole world, and then to be, what's the word?
Excuse me, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Prabhuji.
Yes.
The volume is very less. People are not getting it. Audio is very less.
Is that any better now?
A bit. A bit.
Let me just check. 67%. Hare Krishna.
Better.
All right, I'll hold the microphone. So independence in itself, what does it mean? It means different things to different people. And for us, we're considering the cultural side of it, that India has so much to offer to the rest of the world in as far as its culture. And yet to have, to be ruled by another country and your culture being degraded so much as the British tried to do. So to be free of that is obviously a day to celebrate. There's no doubt about it. And that's a major problem. So life is like that. Life is full of different types of problems. And so we look for solutions. And then when we find solutions to a problem, then it's a time to rejoice. So no doubt India went through a huge period of Muslim occupation and the British occupation. And so finally to have the Indian culture returned, then the opportunity to develop and practice that culture. And now we are finding the whole world is embracing Hindu culture, not only philosophically, but even in the food, the vegetarian ideas of vegetarian diet, and the dress and the colors and the different types of dress and fashion. It's been adopted all over the world. Actually, people are appreciating the architecture, medicine, Ayurvedic medicine. So in every, and everybody is rejoicing that it's like, in a sense, now we have our culture back. And it's such a vast and such a deep culture. So it's an important thing. Although it's one milestone, it's one step, it's one milestone where we are finding some difficulty in life and some oppression, and therefore that problem gets solved. So we're rejoicing for it. And that's on a local level. Of course, it's very important that we remember these days and we appreciate for the history and for the youth, that they should understand and appreciate what people went through in order to come to this point. But then we're looking at it ourselves as devotees, we look at it on a bigger scale, you could say. When we look at it from the pages of the Vedic literatures and Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, then we don't look so focused any longer, but we look on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to understand that we may get relief in certain areas, but then the material world is such a world that there's other problems. So you become free of one problem, but then there's another problem. It's not that there's just only one problem, and when that's over, now I am free. There's always something else that's binding us. So then to consider who's really free, who's really, the ultimate independence. On this level, of course, today we're celebrating, so we're appreciating and understanding. But then on a bigger platform, we have to understand what does independence really mean, and who is really independent. The Bhagavatam tells us that only the Supreme Personality of God and only Lord himself is fully independent. No one else is independent. Everybody else is dependent on him. This is on an absolute platform, on a spiritual platform. The Krishna himself is the only one, as he's truly independent. He doesn't have any dependency on anyone else or anything else or any other situation. He is always aloof in his own transcendental nature. And whereas we are, in that sense, always dependent on him. So we're looking at it on a philosophical platform. And I don't know the whole audience that we're speaking with, 37 people online here. And today's a very significant day. But whether we want to address that understanding of what does it really mean for us to be that level of independence, who is that, and how we're never, as long as we're in the material world, we're never free from these problems. One problem is, the Muslim rule, one problem with the British rule, but we have problem with hot and cold, we have problem with birth, death, old age, and disease. So we have so many problems. How are we ever in the material world to become free? It can never happen actually in the material world. The real platform of truly being independent is to returning to the spiritual world. And that's Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us. It is, the Vedic literature is a description of the whole universe and how the processes work. There's Vedas dealing with the Dhanur Veda dealing with the military arts. There's parts of the Veda dealing with social structure. There's Vedas dealing with medicine, but they're all within the material atmosphere, within the material world, how to deal. But our question is how to get free, how to get out, true independence, to become free from all this suffering. And so that section is called the Srimad Bhagavat. And the Bhagavad Puran, it teaches you how to get out of the material world, how to reach to the higher platform in the spiritual world, where you're truly able to display true nature, your spiritual nature. Here we are covered, our nature is covered by the external material body, and we identify in the material world, we identify with our nation and other things. But the Bhagavatam is taking us to another level. Apart from that practical understanding, there's also the spiritual understanding of how to reach to the spiritual world. So I don't know if we wanted to have more discussion or exactly about, I'm not so clear on exactly the program. You just want to have some understanding from Gita, or do we want to have some discussion from the members? Maybe you could.
Probably we shall be having discussions also, but we would love if you can deliver some more views on this. I just wanted to mention a point, Prabhuji, if you allow.
Yes.
But it suddenly appears in my mind.
Yes, go ahead.
May I?
Please, please.
Okay. I have a query, it's just a point out which I have received from, this is not my view, Prabhuji. This is someone else's view, that is my brother's view. When I mentioned that we are going to have a session with you, and I was looking for the exact topic about it. So I was, wondering and thinking how to add a better topic, like when we are talking about Gita lessons and all. So there was one thing, Shri Krishna, remember, he also teaches us the lesson of Rashtra Matra Bhakti or Rashtra Bhakti, you understand, Desh Bhakti. How does it teach us? Remember the day Indraji, Bhagwan Indra was giving lots of rains to Govardhan, and people were really praying him. People were worshipping Indra. And who is Indra? Indra is again a swarup of Krishna also. Krishna only. So Indra को भी कृष्ण का ही स्वरूप माना जाता है. So उस समय भी क्योंकि वो इंद्र देवता नहीं आ रहे हैं, and we were praying to get more rains, and then Indra became rushed, and then there were so many heavy rains. That moment, Krishna, he teaches us to save, having an entire Govardhan on his small finger. And he mentioned, somehow I think, I don't know, I am unable to deliver the right thing to you, Madam. I think how he taught a lesson that we should worship our motherland also. That was Govardhan ji was motherland for all the Brijvasi. So वहाँ पर भी we should not go towards much to Indra, who was already a Bhagwan का स्वरूप. But then he asked to please worship Govardhan Parvat also, and today also we are doing it. So I think you can add upon something on this, if at all it sounds. So this is one of the spiritual aspect which Krishna has given us for this nation loving, or loving to our motherhood somehow.
Yes, okay. Indra had become a little bit feeling that he was independent from the Lord and he should be worshipped. He's actually what they call demigod, semi-god, not the absolute personality of Godhead on the level of an avatar, but he's the next level down, you can say. So empowered by Krishna, but not the same level as Krishna and Vishnu. So then he became a little bit, Prabhupada says, he had some arrogance that now I am the king of heaven and they should worship me. And if they worship me properly, then I will deliver the rains according to their need. And so the Brijvasis wanted to worship him. And he was feeling that I am independent. I can decide myself. So Krishna wanted to humble him, to make him humble and understand. So therefore, he explained to his father, that to Nanda Maharaj, that there's no requirement. Actually, Govardhan Hill is supplying everything we need. The cows, the caves are there for taking rest. The trees are there for giving shade. The mountains, the rivers are coming down for the water. All the grasses are growing for the cows. So everything is in Govardhan. Better you worship Govardhan. This is the Lord's Leela. It's the Lord's Leela just to make his devotee become humble and realize that you are not all in all. You also depend. You also depend on the personality of Godhead. You also depend on the Supreme Lord. So this whole program was there, and it made Indra comes to his senses that, oh, I realize I have made a big offense. There's quite a few occasions in the Bhagavatam where this has happened, and Lord Indra had become humbled by the Lord. So the whole concept is there to make everyone understand. Sometimes we feel that we are fully independent, but we are not. We are always bound. Srila Prabhupada gives example that if you're in an aeroplane, you have some level of independence, but you're not completely independent. You can stand up, you can walk around in the plane to some extent, you can have a meal or not have a meal, you can watch some movie or you can do some activities. Some things you have independence, but ultimately you cannot say, okay, now open the door, I'm leaving. You don't have that much independence. The flight is such it is, and it's fixed. You can't leave anytime you want, or you tell the pilot, turn around, I want to go back now. And there's some independence you don't have. Then you're dependent. It's already fixed. There's nothing you can do about that. So that's same in the material world. We have some limited independence to choose what is right and what is wrong. So then independence is there to some limited extent. But ultimately, we are dependent. In the material world, things are going on. Then we don't have a choice in those things. Right? So there is a limited area. So this Srila Prabhupada is saying, therefore, I am giving you this Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, because it gives you choices. Prabhupada said, all I'm doing is giving people some more knowledge and more information so they can make better choices. And that's what we're doing every day of our life. We're making choices. And things are happening, circumstances, situations are coming up, and we choose this or we choose left or right or wrong. We make a choice. Shall I go to the temple? Shall I go to the restaurant? Shall I go to the bar? Should I do this activity? Should I do that activity? Every day making choices. So we can only make choices with the limited knowledge that we have. So Srila Prabhupada is saying, if I can give you more knowledge, then you can make better choices. And that's our independence. We can choose, basically we can choose Krishna or we can choose Maya. There's two choices. We can choose the material ideal, or we can choose some spiritual ideal, some which comes with it. Then there's a certain moral principles and principles of life, honesty, these basic moral principles that go with it. We can choose morality, we can choose immorality. That's there. So we have that level. There is some level of independence, but ultimately everyone is dependent. So the time factor is such a wonderful thing created for the material world. We are bound by the time factor. There's a whole section in Bhagavad Gita just dealing with understanding the time factor. So even if someone thinks, no, I'm free, I can do whatever I like, you cannot, because we are all bound by the time factor, and the time factor finishes everything. So Krishna says, either they come to me willingly, they surrender to me willingly, or they surrender to me unwillingly, as in my form as the time factor. Birth, disease, old age, and death is going to come according to the time factor. So this is material world. You can't avoid it. In the material world, everything is designated, everything is under the direction of the time factor. We're always a servant of time in the material world. That's the difference. Whereas the Bhagavatam explains, in the spiritual world, there is no time factor. We are not a servant of the time factor. Of course, in a sense, there is a time factor there. They do have day and night. These things are there, but the time factor is a servant of the Lord. So then the Lord can manipulate the time factor accordingly to the Leela. And it can seem like it goes on forever, and it can move on to the next Leela. You can see the Lord seems to be everywhere at the one place in the Rasa dance. All the gopis are saying, the Lord is with me. No, he's with me. He's with me, no one else. But actually, he's dancing with all of them. He can manifest himself in so many forms, 16,108 different forms. So like that, there's no limit. Time factor is there, but it's a servant. It's a big difference. Whereas here, we're a servant of the time factor. There's nothing we can do about it. You can't get it back. If you've lost it, you can't manipulate it. It's there. So this is where we have some level of independence to choose right and wrong. It determines our next birth, but there are some things that are fixed, that are like the time factor is one of these things. The law of karma is another thing. We have no independence when it comes to the law of karma. The law of karma is fixed. It's already fixed. It's in the Manu Samhita. Certain activities you perform, a certain reaction will come. There's no way to avoid it. You can't go to the Maya Devi and make a truce. Okay, I don't harass you, you leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. You can't do that. Right? The material energy is working according to its direction, and there's nothing we can do about it. We have no independence to stop the material energy. So therefore, Prabhupada says, to utilize your independence correctly means to utilize it for what is your higher benefit. Whatever small benefit, small independence we have, we can decide what is good for me, what is not good for me on a spiritual level, on an eternal level. Of course, on a material platform, we do have a material body and we are in certain material situations. So accordingly, we have to look at that also. So therefore, today we're obviously celebrating becoming independent because it's a milestone for India. But on the larger picture, on the larger scale, we have to look also for our future, that we are in this samsara. And again, birth and death is going on, and we have had already passed millions of lifetimes. And if we remain here, we have millions of more lifetimes to go on. And we come into association with different people in this life, and then we leave them, and then we have other associations. So many mothers and fathers we have, so many we've had in the future. So those associations keep coming. So do we want to just continue that, or do we want to put a stop to that? That's the difference. That's the difference. So Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us how to stop that samsara, how to stop that wheel of repeated birth and death. And by doing that is to have a higher understanding of what is real independence and how to utilize whatever dependence we have in the material world. What best things to do. And Bhagavatam gives us the direction. What things we should do, what things we shouldn't do, that will help us bring it to a higher consciousness. So that's called Krishna Bhakti or Bhakti Yoga, how to bring the mind up to a higher consciousness. It starts off very simple things. We follow 4 regulative principles: no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex life, and no non-veg, no meat eating. Very simple things. Srila Prabhupada said, this is not spiritual life. This is a human platform. Any reasonable human person who has any respect for other life follows these 4 principles. These are the pillars of spiritual life. They're the basic pillar of spiritual life, truthfulness. And so we follow these things, simple things. That's the beginning, the 4 regulative principles we follow. And then there are so many positive things that we do in order to develop a higher consciousness. We have chanting of the holy name, and we have darshan of the deities. We offer prayers. There's 9 processes of devotional service. So this is real use. This is proper use of our independence. This is the real independence. So proper use of independence, developing different practices, develop our consciousness. So we could go into some examples, or I don't know, I'm interested to see what people have to say. There are so many people, I don't know anybody here probably, so I'm interested to see what people have ideas or their conceptions or any questions relating to developing their spiritual life. And so someone's writing, time is not eternal in the material world, but in the spiritual world, it is eternal. Yes, that's the difference. Here, we are bound by the time factor and everything is temporary. Whereas in the spiritual world, we are not bound by the time factor. The time factor is a servant, so therefore everything is eternal. And not only is the spiritual world eternal, but also we. We are the marginal potency, and we are also eternal. Not this material body that we have today. You see behind me that picture of that amazing Deshi bull. So that jiva there inside that bull, and we are the same in that form. So that form is not eternal, but the jiva inside is also eternal, fully eternal. So how to realize that nature? That's the question. Because we're in this material body, it's very difficult to identify with the spiritual energy. It's not something that you can see. It's not something you can touch. How to understand the nature of the jiva. If you can't see it, you can't experiment upon it. It's a very difficult thing. So therefore, it takes some practice. You have to do some study, more study, and perform some services, get the mercy of the Vaishnavas, and then try to understand our true nature. If we understand ourselves, we can understand. If we understand the Atma, we can understand the Paramatma. That's a good point, actually, someone made. Someone could, if you wanted to speak something, could just chat it and it'll come up on the chat window.
So there's a question. Vishnuji has asked a question. Guruji, how to experience Krishna consciousness?
How to experience Krishna consciousness. Oh, Hare Krishna. Mine got dropped.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. प्रभु जी का शायद डिस्कनेक्ट हुआ था, बट ही इज कनेक्ट अस बैक अगेन.
What do we understand as Krishna consciousness? I mean, it's a very general Krishna consciousness, a very ethereal thing. How do we experience Krishna consciousness? We all experience in different ways, but even to understand what is Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness ultimately is having that understanding. It's a level like the gopis have, that level of love for Krishna. They have an undying, they have an unceasing love for Krishna. Ultimately, we're looking at some of that. We know there's 5 different ras in the Lok of Vrindavan, these higher levels of ras, where we can go so deeply. But we are under the influence of Yoga Maya. Here we're under the influence of Mahamaya. In the spirit world, under the influence of Yoga Maya. Sometimes in Lok, the residents don't even see that here's Bhagavan, here's the personality of Godhead. They just see, here's my son, here's my friend. They see in a different way according to their ras. So how to experience that is only by experiencing it.
Thank you. But your voice is really not much audible. Prabhuji, can you hear us? This is another question for you from Dr. Amit Singh Rathore. What management skills we can learn from Shri Krishna?
So next question is, what management skill we can learn from Krishna?
So main thing like
Is that too loud there?
is that too loud? There's a lot of echo. There's a lot of echo. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can hear.
There's so much echo coming from there. I can hear myself twice.
Prabhuji, मैं निवेदन करूँगी, like you have been logged in with 2 devices. If you can leave one device, you will have a better parallel.
Yes. प्रणाम. अभी गुरुजी को देख भी सकते हैं.
Yes.
Welcome, Dr. Upadhyay, our past president, and we welcome Dr. D.K. Banwit also. Thank you for being with us, President Emeritus of ISTD. Can we have Prabhuji?
Yes.
There is some network issue. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, you can spotlight him.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. We're back now.
So, Prabhuji, there was a question for you.
Yes.
What management skills we can learn from Krishna?
Management skills.
Rather, I will reframe question. Anita, if you allow me.
Right,
Please.
sir.
Please.
Right.
Prabhuji, Jai Sri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
See, now in India, we are celebrating Azadi Mahotsav. Okay. Now, see, problem is now we are not able to detach from Kam, Krodh and Moha, you can say. How people can get rid of these things? आजादी इनसे कैसे मिल सकती है? और अपने जीवन को जो जैसे 16 चैप्टर में देवी संपत विभाग योग means divine characters, divine traits. How people can inculcate divine traits in them, so we can lead a easy life, a sattvic good, so increasing sattvic good and all, something like that.
To become freed of lust, greed, and anger.
Yes. So we can lead a life of like सात्विक तत्व गुणों की बढ़ोतरी हो और हमारा जो एक्चुअली हम तो राजसी तत्व वाले हैं क्योंकि गृहस्थ आश्रम में, लेकिन कैसे सात्विक तत्व की ओर बढ़ा जाए कैसे? That will be the pure management of life.
Yes, it's a fact. We have to transcend even the mode of goodness. Mode of ignorance is there. Mode of passion is there too much. Even the mode of goodness is also binding us in the material world. We have to even transcend even the mode of goodness somehow or other. So it's a very difficult thing. How do you do that? How do you do that? Obviously, it takes a lot of determination, but it begins with controlling of the senses. If you want to control the senses, how to control the mind, at least begin with some sense control. If there's some So there's a process. That's
Yeah,
a process that we're following. Bring sense control.
We cannot hear you. We cannot hear.
There are some
And volume is
participants
down.
whose mics are on.
Aha, I'll take care, sir.
Okay. Now can you hear the volume?
True. Better, Prabhuji.
Volume is there?
You may. Yes, it's there.
Okay. So that's the beginning, some level of sense control. Therefore, we have these rules and regulations to begin with. Krishna says in the Gita to Arjuna, Krishna consciousness. Someone was asking. So Krishna says in the Gita, just remember me 24 hours a day and never forget me. That's all you have to do. It's very simple. There's nothing else. And Arjuna is looking and thinking, are you serious? 24 hours a day, all day, every night, just remember you and nothing else? How is it possible? I'm a king, I'm a prince, I have an army, I have a family, I have so many responsibilities. How can I just concentrate on you 24 hours a day? Because that platform is actually called samadhi. And we are in the material world, we have all these responsibilities. How can we just go to the Himalayas and become in samadhi?
Can I raise a question?
And the Lord says, then if you cannot do that, then you take up the regulated life. You take up the regulated life of sadhana bhakti. You follow the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti. And then gradually your senses will come under control. Gradually your mind will come under control. And then you'll be able to focus and concentrate on developing a higher level of consciousness. So that's our position. We're there. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Professor Banwit. Professor
Yeah.
Banwit.
Yes. Prabhuji, Pranam. My question is freedom from what? And how much freedom is really desirable? And the other thing is, there are different stages of life. Can you totally devote yourself only to Krishna and forget all your other duties?
Yes. Two very good questions. It's freedom from what? There's too much freedom. Too much freedom is sometimes more of a problem as well. Exactly. Actually, we don't want to become free. The life of bhakti, in the path of bhakti, actually, we are not trying to become free at all. We don't want that independence. We want to remain dependent on the Lord. We never want to become free from him. We always want to be under his direction, always under his protection, always working with that relationship and developing that loving exchange and that loving relationship. So yeah, real freedom is actually to be dependent, but not on material world, on the Lord in that relationship. But then again, yes, is it practical? Is it possible? Is it practical? All different walks of life, different backgrounds. So, but yes, it is possible. That's the beauty of bhakti. In other different forms of yoga, you require a certain level of qualification. But in bhakti, all you have to do is take the holy name of the Lord. Anyone in any walk of life, especially in this Kali Yuga, anyone in any walk of life can take up this chanting of the holy name. If you look at any mainstream religion in the world, even in the Quran, even in the Bible, they all express that in this particular age, the name of the Lord is all powerful. So the same thing, it's also in the Vedas, it's also Padma Purana is giving verses where in the Kali Yuga, specifically the holy name is there. So then anyone can do this. You live the basic moral principles of life. You follow these 4 basic principles of human being. And then you take this holy name, you add it to your life. That's all. We're not asking anyone, whatever you're doing, don't change it. Sometimes people would say to Srila Prabhupada, oh, I'm very much inspired. I want to leave my family and join and travel with. Prabhupada would never, no, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling through South India. Many nice devotees had come in association with the Lord and then had tried to leave. Oh, now I will continue. I will give up everything and follow you. The Lord would always say, no, you stay at home. You stay at home. You maintain your family. You take care of your responsibility. You take care of your children. Basically, we're a family-oriented society. ISKCON is very much family-oriented because 90% of our devotees are grihastha. Sannyasis are very few, brahmacharis are very few. So yes, any walk of life, you can develop Krishna consciousness. Externally, we take care of all our responsibilities. We take care of our family, for society. We take care of these things externally. And internally, we develop our loving attraction and attachment for the Lord at the same time. So this is done very easy in the Kali Yuga.
There is one small confusion. When you say Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, now is this Ram Lord Ram or is it Balaram?
It's how you feel. How do you feel?
Now, there is a confusion because sometimes people say it is Balaram because Krishna is the elder brother. And on other occasions, they say there's no difference between Ram and Krishna. They are at different times. So can you help?
Our philosophy is not everything is one. Our philosophy is personal. Everything has a personality. The river Yamuna is a person, Yamuna Devi. Right? Even the Himalaya is a person. Even Sudarshan Chakra is the Lord's personal weapon, but Sudarshan Chakra is a person. Everything has personality. So we consider everything on a personal level. Somebody has that personal feeling towards Lord Ram. So when that Maha Mantra is there, it's Lord Ram. He's chanting for him. That's his consciousness. When he's chanting Hari Ram, he's thinking of Lord Ram. So for him, it's Lord Ram. And for someone else, someone will feel he has that attraction for Krishna and Balaram. He will feel Lord Ram, and he chants Ram, he means Balaram. So both are perfect. Both are perfect. There's no contradiction whatsoever. Sometimes we try to make some contradiction, but they're not, depending on your consciousness and how you understand things. So both is accepted.
I think that is the management lesson. You never say anyone is wrong. You say you are right, you are not wrong, and you are probably right. So I think the management people perhaps talk in this language.
Very good.
Someone
Yes.
asked about what learnings can we draw from Krishna consciousness. I think this is one such thing that you assume and then presume and then do whatever you like, as long as it gives you happiness.
Yes, to a certain level, as long as it's acceptable in Shastra. Whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we speak, but it should be supported by Shastra. It should not be just our own interpretation, but it must be there somewhere in Shastra. So Srila Prabhupada taught us like that, and he himself was always very authoritative and gave every record. So the same way, it is written in the Mathura Mahatmya, the holy name, you can see how you see. You can also see it to be, this is Lord Ram. That's also perfect because Lord Ram is non-different from Krishna. Prabhupada explained that if you have one candle, that candle is one candle power. And then you use that candle, you light another candle and another and another. Each candle is one candle power. But Srila Prabhupada says, but that first candle, they're the same power, but the first candle, Prabhupada said, that's Krishna. And then from him, all the other avatars have appeared for their specific purposes, different types of avatar, but they're all one candle power. So there's no difference between them. And if your mood is like that, depending on your bhav, on your relationship. In the pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there was one devotee, Murari Gupta. So he was a devotee of Lord Ram. And Lord Chaitanya was always telling everybody, you chant Hare Krishna mantra and you worship Krishna. So he was a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he wanted to do that. But he was such a staunch devotee of Ram, he was always having this conflict and he couldn't understand, and he had this conflict all the time. And then finally at one point, Lord Chaitanya manifested a form of Lord Ram, that he could understand that there's no difference between the two. Murari Gupta was always saying, I can't follow and I feel bad. But then Lord Chaitanya explained, why should you feel bad? There's no difference between Krishna. There's no difference between Ram. They simply their mood is different. They are both the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but their mood is different. One is like the chief minister in his office, right? The head of the university is the professor in his office, and one is the professor in his home. That's all. He's a different mood. When you see him in his office, he's very serious and very straightforward and very professional. And at home, his grandson jumps on his back and plays with him. And so the mood is different. That's all.
Yeah, I think in psychology they say you see what you want to see, you hear what you want to hear, and I think Tulsidas also, when he went to Mathura, he was bent upon seeing Krishna as Lord Ram and not Krishna as Krishna. And I think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as you mentioned, I think these are two such examples that can be cited. Thank
Perfect.
you, Guruji.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vanvit. Yes, Kush, you can ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavata Pranam. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask this: is it fixed that how many births we can see Krishna? Means I have a strong conviction that I can see him not in this birth. Matlab, I feel him sometimes, but I cannot see him. I cannot talk to him. It's my will that how will I do that? How will I achieve that? I want to talk to Krishna and hear what he wants to say to me. Why I came here. I want to know this.
So you're very eager to have the darshan of the Lord.
Yes, in any form. I just want to talk to him.
Maybe he's talking to you every day, but you're not aware, you're not understanding he's there. But it's like that. We all want to have that kind of relationship. It's not such an easy thing to happen. We need to be 100%. The Bhagavatam says you need to be 100% free from all material desires to become qualified to meet the Lord face to face. 100, can you imagine? 100% free. So Srila Prabhupada was in Toronto, in Canada, and they made him a very high Vyasa. It was many, many steps, 7, 8 steps high. So Prabhupada climbed up and he was giving the class. And the class he was saying, if you want to meet Krishna face to face, anyone can do. But the condition is 100% free from all material desire. And when he was giving the class, devotees were, their face went down. How is it possible? So then after class, Srila Prabhupada was seeing the mood of the devotees. They became a little depressed. Oh, this is impossible. How can we ever do? So then Prabhupada stood up on the Vyasa and he said, 90%, at least 90% free from material desire. And the devotees were, some chances there. Now we have some chance. And then he came down 3 or 4 steps to the middle and he saw and looking at the faces and he said, maybe we can allow 80%. Maybe we can allow 80% free from material desire. And then when he reached the bottom, he dropped out and he picked up, switched it over his shoulder and he walked off and he turned it back and he looked back and he said, 70%, I will allow no less, at least 70%. Like that, he would speak, Krishna Prabhupada is saying, I'll speak on your behalf. So it depends. You need to get the mercy of the spiritual master also. Somehow or other, if you can get the mercy of the Vaishnavas and the mercy of the spiritual master, even in this life, there's a chance we can see Krishna. But that's one side of it. But the other side of it is maybe Krishna is speaking to us every day, but we're not paying attention. And Prabhupada gives that example that the flood is there and the Father is in the church. So there's a flood coming and they're giving warning to all the town. The flood is coming, so everybody needs to evacuate the town. So people start leaving. There's an announcement in the paper. Flood is there, please evacuate. Half the town evacuates, half the town stays. And then the flood begins coming and the water starts rising up. So then they send people in boats. They've got boats going around the whole town. You have to leave, you have to leave, you have to leave. And people are boarding the boats and they're leaving the town. So every time They're going to the church. They're telling the father, Father, there's a flood coming. You have to leave. Okay. God will tell me. God will tell me. So then when the water came, they're telling Father, this is the last boat. You have to take the boat. The flood is coming up now to the roof level. And the father is telling, okay, that's okay for everybody. God will tell me. And then the flood reaches to the roof of the church, and the father's sitting on the top of the church, and they come with a helicopter. Father, you're the last in town. It's time to leave. You have to leave now. The flood is coming. And the father is saying, you go ahead. God will do something. And then he drowns. And then when he goes to the heaven, the father is telling him, he gets there, and he reaches and he meets God and said, what happened? You didn't do anything. And God said, what can I do? I sent the newspaper article. I sent them in the boat. I sent them in the helicopter. I sent everywhere. You didn't listen. You didn't listen to anything. What can I do? So the same thing, many things happening in our life every day. And God is actually speaking to us. But because we're materially conditioned, maybe we're not listening to it. You need spiritual master. You need guru who can guide us, make us understand what is God's wishes, what is God's words. So I think he's talking to you all the time. I think he's talking to you because you're sitting here and you're part of this discussion. It means you're having some interest and you are listening.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Prabhuji, there's another question. Prabhuji, there's a big question. So I asked him, but let me read it out for you. We know that Indians were suppressed for nearly 500 to 600 years from invaders destroying of culture and traditions which were set to some purpose, and after the freedom the government continued same things given by the Britishers. From 1947, India have not started going towards its old roots, but started going away from roots. As you said, many countries are getting inspired by India. But the people of India are getting inspired by the Western ideology. But not only that, even media is also portraying spirituality as a sin. But is it our responsibility to share the knowledge? Is it not our responsibility to share the knowledge and make fools into intellectuals? What need to be done to change this?
Yes, it's a great challenge. There's no doubt. It's a very big challenge. There's so much influence. What can we say? There's demoniac influence. What we call it, we can call it Western culture, you can call it globalization, you can call it materialism, whatever it is, but it's any culture where God is taken out of the equation. And that's what's happening all over the world. And it's happening here also. We want to have a society without God. I mean, who did that? That's what Ravan wanted. Ravan wanted to have Sita, he wanted to have the opulence and enjoyment, but without recognizing the Supreme Lord. Hiranyakashipu, another one, he wanted you should worship me. No need to worship Vishnu. He stopped all worship of the Brahmanas worshiping the Lord Vishnu and then told them, you all worship me. He wanted to replace God with himself. So wherever we find a culture where they're trying to replace God by materialism or by their own selves or whatever, then there's always some disaster. And that's what's happening all over the world. How can you stop that? They call it progress, but it's not progress. These countries that are supposed to be more progressive, they have more sinful activity, they have more suffering than other countries. Suffering and so it's a challenge. This is part of our challenge to spread Krishna consciousness, to spread these values, and people should identify, with God. They should understand that there is a creator, there is a controller, and people are accepting. It's in the heart. Even if you find countries that are like Russia, for instance, Prabhupada went there. Russia is a communist country. It means everyone is equal. There is no God. But there is a Russian Catholic Church, and people in Russia, they believe in God. It's for us, the #1 sales of Bhagavad Gita in the world is Russia. They buy more Bhagavad Gitas than even we can sell in India. Russia's like that. So there's a great acceptance. People are in their heart spiritually inclined. They know, people know that there is a creator. They know in their heart, but sometimes they deny. That is the demoniac influence. So it's mentioned that in previous yugas, situation was different. In the Kali Yuga, that demoniac tendency and the divine tendency is within us. We have both, and we are conflicted. And then previously, they were in the same family. Part of the family was religious-minded, and the other part is Kurukshetra. It's like that, same family. Part was religious-minded, wanted to follow God, and the other part was atheistic. And then previous to that, in the Dwapara Yuga, then it was in different countries. Bharatvash was fully dedicated and devoted country, and Ravana was in Lanka, and they had a whole different mentality. So like that, it was different. But in Kali Yuga, that tendency of divine tendency is within us all, doing the right thing and appreciating the Supreme Lord. But we also have that demoniac tendency, those tendencies where we want to do the wrong thing. And we do those things, we do those wrong things. So Krishna consciousness and developing spiritual knowledge helps us identify that we don't make those mistakes. So it's not so easy thing, but it's a big challenge, no doubt, a big world challenge, how to get the people back to real culture. Even if we say today, we want to bring back some real principles of culture that you can find from the Daivi Varnashram, not materialistic Varnashram, but actual Daivi Varnashram, the system of social management that the Lord gave. Right? But there's so much misuse of that. There's so much fear of it. So how do you even do that? I mean, these cities that we live in, these big cities, how can you practice Krishna consciousness living in a city with so much unwanted influence all around us? It's not an easy thing. If we're really serious, we should all go and live in the country. We should all go back in the country, but how can we? We're addicted to our easy life and our facilities. So it's a big challenge, but it's a challenge that I think Lord Chaitanya says every Indian, in fact, Lord Chaitanya orders, every Indian should become a guru. Every Indian should become a guru. Maybe not a Diksha guru, but at least a Siksha guru, and distribute this knowledge. This is such a valuable knowledge. And the world is understanding. If you talk to intellectuals, even in America, they understand that it is becoming more and more degraded. Supposedly it's becoming more modernized, but modernized means more and more degraded activities that they're becoming addicted to. So they're seeing that it's just going down and down. The culture is disappearing. It used to be based on religious principles. If you see the Constitution of America, it was based on religion, but now it's disappeared. So the people are realizing, intellectuals are seeing that it's becoming degraded and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's going to become a disaster. It can't continue like this. So therefore, when you come with an alternative, same with me, when I was young, I always believed in God, but I saw the hypocrisy of the church, and there was no alternative. And then Srila Prabhupada came to the West, and we saw, oh, funny, yes, here's a working alternative, something you can dedicate your life at much higher understanding. So it's a challenge. We all need to be together and do that. Open up some temples, distribute Bhagavad Gita, distribute prasadam to people, make them attractive, have festivals to get people to come that they can hear. Right? It's stated in the Bhagavatam that you go to visit a holy place in Haridwar. You don't go there just to purify all the pop, so that you can continue making pop and you feel, oh, I'm purified.
Prabhuji? Hello. Prabhuji, I just, it is said that freedom comes with responsibilities. So in that sense, I think self-discipline should also be a part of freedom. How much freedom and how much restraint? So this is, if you could just throw further light on this.
It just a little broken up. How much freedom and how much?
Yes. Freedom comes with responsibilities. And self-discipline, because mask, nowadays everyone says that you should wear masks and all that. Still people are not following it. So that self-discipline is not there. So how can we of course the government and everyone is trying their best, but
well, with knowledge comes responsibility, that's for sure. I mean, I don't know if I'm the right person to talk about masks or not. I wonder what's going on with the world with this topic, and it's rather controversial topic, but certainly when you have some knowledge definitely brings responsibility. And so someone who is posing to be some kind of an authority on any topic, he should practice what he preaches. Firstly, it's not that we should just give our own ideas to everybody, but ourselves not follow. We should be practicing. If we are understanding and giving some demand on the public of something, then we should also follow it. And it's the tendency, most people, they're happy to give restrictions and regulations for everyone else, but they don't want to follow those things themselves. So on a material platform also, it doesn't work. No one will give any respect to such a person. But especially on a spiritual platform, if you're giving some understanding of Bhagavad Gita, you don't have any potency if you don't follow yourself. I can't ask you to take up a japa mala and start chanting Hare Krishna every day if I don't do it myself. Right? Then you won't take me seriously. So yes, certainly responsibility is there. We are no longer, just as we are devotees, we are no longer independent in that sense, because whatever we're doing on behalf of our spiritual master. So whatever we're doing, we're representing him. Whatever we are speaking, whatever actions we perform, it represents, and it shows the quality of the guru also. So you can tell the level of a spiritual master by the level of the disciple. If the disciple is very lax and nonsense person, it means the guru is also not very serious. If the disciple is very serious. So we take it like that, devotees and within ISKCON, we are representing Prabhupada. So we are very careful where we go, who we associate with, where we are seen. Even we may go to a bar to distribute Bhagavad Gita, but we don't go there because people will think, oh, look, Prabhuji is going in a hotel. Very bad. They'll always think the wrong thing. So we have to be very careful how we act in society, definitely.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question. So when we chant Hare Krishna, Hare Ram Mahamantra, so in that, what does Hare means? I mean, is it like the way of like how we greet God, or what is it?
Hare is an address to the energy of the Lord. Generally speaking, we say like that, the energy of the Lord, but the topmost energy of the Lord is Radharani. So actually Hare is addressing to Radha. And basically the prayer is, my dear Lord Krishna, my dear Lord, my dear Radha, please engage me in your service. Srila Prabhupada said it like that, simply speaking.
Okay, so Prabhuji, when we say like Hare Rama, so there Hare means Lord, means Sita ji, right?
then we can say the energy of the Lord. Then we're praying to the energy of the Lord, my energies of the Lord. There are so many different potencies, so many energies, the Lord Shakti. So we're praying to the Lord's energies and to Lord Ram or Balaram, as you see your mood. We're praying to him, please engage me in your service. Basically, the prayer is there that I want to be free from material consciousness. Please engage me in some service. Please keep me in touch with devotees. Please keep me away from the material consciousness, like that. So that prayer is like that. But it's very powerful. It's not that it only works in Sanskrit. It works in any language. We had one devotee in Australia. He was a Christian missionary, a Christian minister, and he worked in a hospital where they had terminally ill patients. It was a Christian hospital and terminally ill patients. He was an ISKCON initiated devotee, but he was also a Christian minister at the same time. So he got all these patients together, and he told them that I will teach you now one mantra. I'll teach you a mantra in the ancient Hebrew language of the in ancient Hebrew. And the meaning of the mantra is that, my dear Lord, give me your mercy. Engage me and give me your mercy. So he taught them this mantra in Hebrew language. And they all began for 1 week. They all started chanting every day this mantra, and they all did it together. And then he came and he said, okay, now you've learned it in Hebrew. I will teach you this in the Greek language. So then they learned it in Greek. He taught them the mantra in Greek language. And then he said, now I will teach you in English. And they went through in English. And then he said, now I will teach you this mantra in Sanskrit. And they already had like 3 weeks of chanting this, oh my Lord, please give me your mercy, engage me in service. So he said, now I'll teach you in Sanskrit. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And they were shocked. Oh, that's that Hare Krishna mantra. No, we are Christians. They're Hindus. We are Christians. They're Hindus. So there was a whole conflict with people. But they'd already got to understand that the mantra in many different languages, but the meaning was important. And mostly they embraced it. And he got the whole, half the hospital chanting Hare Krishna mantra and appreciating it. So it was an interesting exercise.
Yes, Prabhuji. It's really interesting to hear. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Is there any other question from any audience? Prabhuji, you can add on something.
Is everyone online here in Kota or in different places?
No, sir. No, Prabhuji. We have Dr. Yogesh Upadhyay from Pune. We had Professor D.K. Banwit from New Delhi. We had Mr. Professor Shaurya Aurangabad. From Aurangabad also we have people. We have people from Jibitesh Reddy from Bhubaneswar. Odisha, yes, Odisha, right? We had many people.
Such a good platform.
Yeah, sir. Actually, Prabhuji, this is ISTD's platform where we have available we are there everywhere in India. Around 51 places we have our presence. So we have 15 chapters pan India. So this is how.
Ultimately, we were discussing this point that.
And Vishnuji is from Andhra. He is writing. We have Lord Vishnu also.
Section.
And my Guruji, basically I am from Mathura. That's why my parents named me as Yogesh. But now I'm
very good. Vasi. We have
Yogesh है कि योगी है?
योगी बन जाएंगे अभी स्वामी जी ये है told कि you can have I will become yogi after some time. Karma yogi, actually karma sannyas is also taught by Lord Krishna. Karma sannyas. It is not necessarily you go to sannyas like jnana yoga, is a sannyas, but karma sannyas, you devote your karma to Lord and you will become karma. Don't expect anything.
Yeah, Prabhuji, you were talking about Russia. In communism, they say all are equal, but some are more equal. There was George Orwell's Animal Farm, which was a satire on communism. All are equal, some are more equal. And like here, we are all equal, whether from Delhi or from Mathura or from Kota. Of course, Anita ji is more important. And the other thing was, they used to say in the communist country, by God, I swear that there is no God.
And by God, I swear, yes. Srila Prabhupada gave an example like that. When Prabhupada was in Russia, then there was an accident on the runway. So Srila Prabhupada was mentioning that these politicians and people in Russia, communists, they're claiming that they don't follow God. There is no God. But there was these politicians who were walking towards the airplane, and a crazy person came on a car across the runway and ran into them. So Prabhupada was saying, just see, what happened when the car came running towards them, they all put up their hands and they all cried out, "Oh my God." So Prabhupada said, see, they call themselves communists, but actually they're all, when the danger comes, then, oh my God, please save me, God, do something. So he appreciated, even if you go in Russia, you see, they're not all equal. You see the Brahmins, you see the intellectuals, you see the managers, the administrators, the Kshatriyas, you see the Varnas there, you see the business people. They're not all equal. You see the working class people, they're not all equal. They're all different. According to that Varnas, you may not declare it, but there's Varnas and the ashrams there everywhere in society. If you look for it, it's there. So yeah.
Thank you.
There's a very nice story. Somebody said they're from Bhuvaneshwar, and Jagannath Puri is a very important place because there's a lot of leelas and a lot of pastimes and a lot of philosophical understanding came from there because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there's a pastime here there which teaches us a good lesson, because King Prataparudra was the king, and he was a great devotee, and he always wanted to have the darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu would never meet him. No, he's the king. He's dealing with all these worldly minded affairs and duplicity and diplomacy and politics. So I will not meet a king. And Prataparudra went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the head of Jagannath temple, and he asked him that, what can I do? What can I do? If I cannot meet Mahaprabhu, then what's the point of being a king? What's the point of even being alive if I cannot develop my spiritual life? So Sarvabhauma Bhatta told him, you be patient, be patient. Mahaprabhu will give you his mercy, but you have to be patient. There's a secret for it. So Advaita Acharya came from Bengal, and Ramananda Rai, who was the governor of Orissa, he was there. They were all petitioning Lord Chaitanya, please give him some mercy. But Lord Chaitanya refused again and again and again. And finally the Rath Yatra came, and Jagannath came out from the temple. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there with all the devotees. And King Prataparudra came and took the broom and swept the street in front of Jagannath. And Lord Chaitanya saw that the king had become a servant of Jagannath. So he appreciated, okay, very nice. He has some qualification, some humility in the face of God. So then the kirtan party started in front of Jagannath, and there were 7 kirtan mandalis, and within each one, Lord Chaitanya was dancing. And these 3, Ramananda Rai, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Advaita Acharya, could see the Lord in all 7 kirtan mandalis. But each kirtan mandali, they only saw Lord Chaitanya is with us. But King Prataparudra, he could also see, and he was shocked to see, and he became bewildered. And then finally he's speaking with Advaita Acharya, and Advaita Acharya is saying, why, you can see something. He said, yes, I see. Lord is in all 7. So then he told him, see, you got the Lord's mercy. He's given you the Lord's mercy. No one is having this darshan. Only you can see this darshan. So then he became a little bit pacified. But still the king was saying, but I want to touch his feet. I want to get direct association. So then, if you know the story, Lord Chaitanya is dancing in front of Jagannath. Lord Chaitanya is in Radharani's bhav. He's in the mood of Radharani, and Rath Yatra means I'm taking Krishna from this place of Dwarka as a king in all his army and jewelry and gold and weaponry, and I'm taking it back to my Krishna, back to Vrindavan, that simple cowherd boy. That is Radharani's mood. So that is the mood of Rath Yatra. So then Lord Chaitanya is in that mood, taking Jagannath from the Jagannath temple down to the Gundicha temple, which is Vrindavan. So Lord Chaitanya is in that mood, and halfway there's a garden. So Lord stops there, and he's tired, and he has a rest, and devotees bring him prasadam. So then they told Ramananda Prataparudra that you go at that time and you begin singing the Gopi Geet. Hello, there's some disturbance there. Yes. So you begin singing the Gopi Geet. So Lord Chaitanya was there, devotees were bringing prasadam, and then King Prataparudra comes in very simple dress, and he begins singing Gopi Geet. And Lord Chaitanya hears that, and he's in that mood, that Gopi Bhav is with him. So then he called, oh, who is this devotee? Please call, please come, please come. Who are you? And the king says, I am just a simple servant of Jagannath. I am nobody. I'm nobody special. And Lord Chaitanya then says, oh, I am a sannyasi. I have nothing, I will give you something, but I have nothing to give you. What can I give you? I have no pockets. I have only my dhoti and kurta and my chadar. So then he said, the only thing I have to give you is my embrace. And he embraced Maharaj Prataparudra. And so then Lord Chaitanya explains, because the mercy, you have the mercy of these Vaishnavas, because you have surrendered and touched the feet of the Vaishnavas, therefore I'm giving you my mercy. So it's a very important thing that we should understand, to get the mercy of the spiritual master. If we get the mercy of the spiritual master, it's very easy to get Krishna's mercy. To try and get Krishna's mercy direct is not an easy thing at all to do. So it's an important thing. I think in all sampradayas they explain that the main principle is in devotional life at some point we should come to take a spiritual master who will guide us in our spiritual life. It's a very important thing. A little bit side story.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, we have another, Krishna ji, you have some question to ask?
There's no
Krishna
voice.
ji, you are not audible. Yes, you are not audible. Join audio. You have not joined audio. So, with this, Prabhuji, we have, I don't know, she must be having some questions she was asking. So, since we have already crossed the time, is there any other question? Otherwise, she wanted to ask some question.
इसमें बहुत the need of the hour is there are many sadgurus, great gurus you will find, great teacher, but rarely you find sadashishya, great shishya. What we have to become, what we have to convert, transfer ourselves into sadashishya. Like Arjuna, when he became the shishya, and Lord said, you are my dear friend. So now it is on us. Now Swamiji has joined us. He is trying to give. So we have to, if we receive as a sadashishya, the great shishya, we can really get many things and from many personalities. Like Guru Dattatreya, he has so many gurus, even though aunt is guru, animate in animate. So now need of the hour is there. Okay, we must transform ourselves into sadhasis and have greater learning and implement in our life. That is the requirement.
Exactly. Implement in our life. Something is creating echo. Somebody's microphone is on. Still there. Yeah, our main thing is implementation. Definitely, one has to. I was saying today, people say to me, "Oh, how did you become Krishna devotee?" It's very simple. I read the Bhagavad Gita. And other people say, well, I also read the Gita. Yeah, but you didn't follow it. You just read it as a scholarly exercise or as an interest. You didn't read it and then apply it. Therefore, it hasn't had the same effect on you. So that's a big difference. Bhagavad Gita is something not to just be read. It's something to be studied and applied. We have to follow it. And then it has a fruit. Then you get that taste. Then you understand. Srila Prabhupada said, how can I explain to you the taste of honey if you've never tasted it? What can I say? If you have a jar of honey and you're looking at it, how can I make you understand what it tastes like? There's only one way. You open the jar, put your finger in, and you taste it. And then you know, oh, okay, now I understand the taste of honey. I can say it's sweet, it's sticky, but you can't understand, you never understand until you've actually tasted it. So the same thing with spiritual life. The spiritual master will guide us. You actually have to practice it. You implement, you put it into practice. And as you practice it, then awareness comes and realization comes and you begin to understand. Slowly you begin to understand. So it's a good point. Implementation is important.
Thank you.
Therefore,
thank
I
you.
expect everybody will start chanting Hare Krishna tomorrow.
Hare Krishna.
If you allow, I will say 40 minutes, 40 seconds, Anita ji, 40 seconds, not more than. See, there are degrees of people who know Gita. One type of people they have seen Gita in the film, like in court, people take oath on by name. Then some people they have seen in, but they have not opened, they have taken. Now I have also read it, but I didn't understand. But I joined some organization, and there the motto is Gita पढ़ें, पढ़ाएं और जीवन में लाएं. पढ़े means अब पढ़ने का मैं बताता हूँ कि like a boy, he was holding a newspaper, English newspaper, and one saint asked him, "Can you read it? Can you read English?" He said, "Yes, I can read." "Okay, tell me." Read in front of. Then he read like this: TIMES, Times of India, OF or lagat. For that child, it was the reading. It was the fully, he was knowing I am the master. But he was knowing only the alphabet, nothing else. Same is the condition of ours. Same is the condition of ours. We know that we have seen the book. We have also opened. I have 3-4 books of Gita. Now I am learning. And then I will teach also and implement in life. So these are the 4-5 stages which I wanted to tell my friends. They all are dear friends. And Anita ji has taken right step. Of Anita ji, she is doing many, only because we are not able to join. Otherwise, she is taking lot of efforts for making us to learn Gita. Thank you, Anita ji. भगवान कृष्ण आपकी मनोकामना पूरी करें और जो भक्तजन जुड़े हैं उनकी भी करें. जय श्री कृष्ण.
हरे कृष्णा. हाँ कृष्णा जी, नाउ यू आर अगेन शी इज नॉट ऑडिबल. आप फिर आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है. I think वो
Microphone is
जब
on.
वृंदावन, when we go to Vrindavan, Prabhu ji, when we go to Vrindavan, there are so many temples. So you need to visit this place, that place, this place, that place. So आपके पास you get very limited time. So once you get very limited time, you try to visit this site, that site, every temple. But then once you are coming back, it's not possible for you to complete everything in very short trip. So once you come back, so then you realize, oh, वो तो छूट ही गया. So, oh, I missed that. So I must say, Krishna, he want us to come back again. That is why he did not allow us to visit every site. So this is how Krishna ji is trying to ask you a lot of questions, but since she herself, her name is Krishna, I don't know. So that's the reason you need to come back again for another session with us, where many more members who could not join us. This is how. So I think किसी की कोई बात पूरी नहीं हो पाएगी तो वो आपको दोबारा आना ही होगा. So with this promise from you, I'm taking this liberty from you. It's not just when you are visiting Kota, then only we'll have your sessions. We can anytime have your sessions with your permission, and I would request Mayapur Vasi Prabhuji Das to arrange and to allow us to have many more good enriching learning sessions with you, because the journey which we have started with this ISKCON Kota, we have just started this journey with ISKCON Kota, ISTD Kota chapter and Kota Gyandwar. We want to really take it for long, and Mayapur Vasidas Prabhuji has already done so by starting this Gita sessions. Every Sunday we are having Gita classes, Prabhuji, and this will definitely take us to a 4 months journey. So this is how our association has come across, and with this I invite Mayapur Vasi Das Prabhuji to say a few words, and then we'll please unmute yourself, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, ma'am. And definitely in the near future also we will arrange some nice sessions with Prabhuji. So Prabhuji's experience, spiritual experience, and all experience, we can get benefit of his spiritual experience. So first of all, I'm feeling some sorry that we are not providing a very nice network. There are some interruptions were going on during the session. But next time, when we will arrange some scenery speaker, just like that, we will make arrangement Prabhuji again in near future. We will make sure that our network will not get interrupted. And definitely, this is a long journey, and it is an unending journey. Spiritual journey is an unending journey. So we will definitely make more sessions and more spiritual depth we can go. So we are thankful to all the audience and all the people who came across here by giving their valuable time, and we are very thankful to His Grace Pancharatna Prabhuji also that he gave his valuable time. Although today it is his third class plus one meeting plus one visit. So all his hectic schedule, still he gave us very much time. We are very, very thankful by our heart. So we all very much thankful, and we beg his blessing that we also go through our spiritual journey very nicely. We all get our answers, and we actually free this Independence Day. Actually, we can celebrate our freedom that we are free to read Gita, to understand Bhagavad Gita. We are free to enjoy all our Vedic culture. We are free to practice all our Vedic things. That's the actual message of this Independence Day, that we are actually free for practicing our spiritual life, for practicing our Vedic culture. So by this concluding remark is that they all very happy Independence Day to all of you, and definitely our journey will.
Thank you, Prabhuji. But with this, I would like to thank our President Emeritus, Professor D.K. Banmit, to join us today, and our past National President, Dr. Yogesh Upadhyay, from ISTT. You have really graced this occasion of ours. Thank you so very much, sir, with your kind presence, and plus all the eminent members of ISTT and Gyanvar joining us pan-India. So, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. With this, and keeping a promise from you that you will be very soon coming on this platform of ours.
Yes, I'm at your service as you need. Thank you.
I request people to become member of ISKCON and also donate, because ISKCON is doing great job in Corona also. Whatever यथाशक्ति दान भी करें, वो प्रभु जी नहीं बोलेंगे, बट ये मैं वो आपसे आह्वान कर रहा हूँ कि ISKCON में जुड़े, आप मेंबर बनिए उसके। मैं तो यूएस गया तो वहां पे भी फायदा उठाया, वो अच्छे फायदा है काफी। आई विजिट देयर वेबसाइट, बिकम मेंबर और हैव सम डोनेशन, बिकॉज योर मनी इज गुड। भगवान ने ये भी बोला है कि आपके मन को धन को पवित्र करने के लिए दान वो देना है। आप अध्याय 14 के पहले 3 श्लोक देखिए, उनका अर्थ देखिए तो पता लगा। 26 गुण है जिसमें एक दानम दमस, तो उसको भी लाइए। गुरुजी तो नहीं बोलेंगे, लेकिन मैं बोलता हूँ।
मैं आपको बताती हूँ सर, आज तो हमारा सौभाग्य है कि प्रभु जी को सुनने का अवसर मुझे भी प्राप्त हुआ। अपने यहाँ पे नीलांचल धाम है अपना ISKCON सेंटर परिजात में, वहाँ पर तो बड़ी बेहतरीन बात बताई सर ने कि जब ये ऑस्ट्रेलिया में थे और आपने ज्वाइन किया ही था ISKCON को, तो इनके जो चेयरमैन थे उन्होंने इनको एक जॉब दिया था. व्हाट वाज द जॉब दैट ही हैज गिवन हिम टू हिम एंड वन ऑफ हिज फ्रेंड 2 bags full of Bhagavad Gita, and they asked them to please go and sell it across. And he given a keys of a car also. So when they started the car, there was no petrol at all in the car. So they went to the boss and they asked, there's no petrol. So what he said, what I've given you 2 boxes, there's a lot of Gitas is there. You better sell this Gita, get the money, get the petrol, and then move. This is what is the culture of ISKCON. They do not have money, but they manage everything. And of course, your urge, your appeal to each one of us is really important, and we should really spend our money to the right point. And अभी मैंने आपको पहले भी पता है, with ISKCON, Kotak Gyanvar Education Society has done free food service during this COVID time also, when we were having very tough time in Kota. We had a COVID center at Kota Medical College. There we run a free food service. The entire support we have got, the hygienic kitchen and everything promise call. So this is how we are learning and we are doing, and with your guidance like Dr. Upadhyay, Dr. Banwet and प्रभु जी, आप लोग हमें निरंतर इसी प्रकार से गाइड करते रहे, हम आगे बढ़ाएंगे इस जर्नी को। ये स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी आज खत्म नहीं हुई है, ये आगे बढ़ती रहेगी। आप सभी से निवेदन करूंगी आज हमारे राष्ट्र की जय बोलते हुए जय भारत, और आज हमारे इस जय भारत,
भारत माता की
जय
जय, जय श्री कृष्णा,
जय श्री कृष्णा,
जय श्री कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Dr. Banwit, for joining.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you.
आपका आशीर्वाद मिला हमें। Thank you, Prabhuji.
अनीता जी,
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
आनंद
अनीता
सर,
जी, एक लेक्चर मैं लेता हूँ इस पे, गीता पे, जब भी आपको हो ना, दैवी संपदा एक उसका टॉपिक है। अब हम तो पीला कुर्ता पहन के आऊंगा उस दिन, तो आने
है
आए
ना?
मैं ऐसे।
Sure. We shall be definitely having our राष्ट्रपति, our पूर्व राष्ट्रपति with us very soon.
नहीं, इसी सीरीज में बिकॉज
इसी
तीन ही
season?
श्लोक है इसी सीरीज में, देख गीता ज्ञान में, ज्ञान द्वार के
With the
गीता
permission
ज्ञान।
of प्रभु जी.
हाँ नहीं, नो प्रॉब्लम, नहीं उनका रखिए अलग, दैट शुड बी द सेपरेट,
We'll do it.
that should be separate, and that should not be disturbed.
Sure. Thank you so much. We are glad.
क्या होता है, भक्तों की भाषा भक्त बोल सकते हैं, गुरु की भाषा बोलता है, तो हम लोग भक्तों। ओके, वेनवेट साहब, हो गया क्या डिनर?
Thank you.
सॉरी।